A spokeswoman for the former president told NBC News, President Obama has long said that selecting Joe Biden as his running mate in 2008 was one of the best decisions he ever made. He relied on the vice president's knowledge, insight, and judgment throughout both campaigns and the entire presidency. The two forged a special bond over the last 10 years and remain close today. Well, that's a statement from the president. Biden was asked about President Obama this morning in Wilmington. Here's what he said.
Why didn't President Obama endorse?
I asked President Obama not to endorse, and he doesn't want to. Whoever wins this nomination should win it on their own merits.
Well, a source familiar with President Obama's thinking told NBC News the former president is excited by the extraordinary and diverse talent in the field of Democratic presidential candidates, adding, it's unlikely that he will throw his support behind a specific candidate this early in the primary process. Eli, this guy is a big candidate, Biden. Everybody knows him. Most people sort of like him. He's very comfortable to most people. They're comfortable with him, I should say. He's familiar. And yet, many say first day as a candidate will be his best.
Well, we're going to find out.
This is going to be tough because he's such a target.
Right. I mean, the senator pointed out he didn't make his announcement video about me. He doesn't have to. He's at 25, 30% in these polls before he's even in the race. He is a known commodity. There's also a lot of baggage there that he's overstepping by not focusing on biography. Yeah. That'll get prosecuted. We'll see. I mean, he's offering a general election argument, a message about electability, and putting a frame on this as being about Trump. Do you want 8 years of a Trump presidency, or do you want to end this? If that's what it's about, I'm your guy. But that's a guess. In 2016, Democrats went with Hillary Clinton thinking that she was the safer choice.
Yes.
Didn't work out for them. And so there are 20-plus candidates. There are going to be maybe a couple more before it's all said and done. And this is going to be a fight. And I think Joe Biden will see if he can stay where he is right now. He can certainly make that argument that he's been through the wars, he's been vetted. He can make a claim on, he's a solid candidate in a lot of these states that Trump won, that Trump flipped, Pennsylvania, Michigan, the Rust Belt states. But not everybody in the party sees him, not everybody in the Democratic primary electorate sees him as their top choice. And that's because there's a hunger among some voters for somebody newer, for some diversity on the ticket.
Well, one of President Trump's top religious advisors, that would be Trump's, evangelist Franklin Graham, is attacking Mayor Pete Buttigieg for being gay, just for being gay. That's his shot. And during a town hall this week, the mayor was drawing a distinction between his Christian faith and what he sees in the Trump administration.
Couldn't be more radically different than what I see certainly in this White House, where there's a lot of chest thumping and self-aggrandizing. Not to mention abusive behavior, but also a political agenda that seems to always be revolving around the idea that somehow it's too easy for poor people in this country. It's just so different than what I get when I read Scripture. And I get that one of the things in it, but at the very least, we should be able to establish that God does not have a political party.
Well, Reverend Graham took aim at that comment, tweeting, Pete Buttigieg is right. God doesn't have a political party, but God does have commandments, laws, and standards he gives us to live by, adding, as a Christian, I believe the Bible, which defines homosexuality as sin, something to be repentant of, not something to be flaunted, praised, or politicized. Well, that's the same Franklin Graham, by the way, for our information, who, when the president was accused of an unfair with an adult film actor, Stormy Daniels, he told the Associated Press that messing around with that women and all that mess, and it was a mess, was nobody's business. Senator Boxer, what do you think of that double standard? Nobody's business when it's Trump, but this guy was born and is a gay American, has to somehow take the penitential route, according to Reverend Graham.
Well, I could tell you when religious leaders speak out and they spew hatred, and that's what that is. It goes against my upbringing, which is that you have a loving God. And, I thought Pete Buttigieg has been incredible on this point. He said, take it up with your maker. The fact is, we're all God's children. And how a leader in a religion could spew that kind of divisiveness is unbelievable. And I am also so excited to see Mayor Pete in this race. It's going to be a really good race. But the one thing, getting back to Joe for just a minute, that he's got that no one else has, He was a heartbeat away from a great president for 8 years. And I know the portfolio he gave Joe. It was right after the Great Recession, when we were fighting back. He gave Joe the portfolio to bring jobs back. He gave Joe portfolios that took him to all parts of the world. So I think it's going to be really good for the whole party to have Joe and Mayor Pete in there and the women in there. I'm proud to be a Democrat right now. And maybe we don't agree on every single thing. And maybe some people think we need to go young, and some people say we need to go old, or we need to go left, or we need to go middle. We've got great people there, and everyone's going to feel comfortable, I think, with this field.
What do you think about the age thing? Do you
Well,
think,
I think
in your
Bernie-
later 70s, people lose a step or two that's dangerous for the president? No, really.
You're talking to me.
I know I'm talking to
me.
somebody who doesn't show a year that passed when
yeah.
I first met you. Yes, it's all true.
Yeah.
You look at, not that I'm allowed to talk about appearances, but the fact is you look like you're handling age very well. I've heard it from older people that older people shouldn't be president. And I just wonder if you have a view on that.
I absolutely do. I think it's crazy to just paint everybody of a certain age with a certain brush. And that goes to young people. Look at Mayor Pete. He's kind of an old soul, and he's very young. And the fact is that, if you're fortunate enough to really be strong when you get older, you're much wiser than you were as a kid and as someone in middle age. And I think Bernie is older than Vice President Biden. So he kind of took the age thing out of the loop here. But look, people are going to put that all into their minds when they decide who they want. You got a president who's in his 70s. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't understand the Constitution. He's attacking the fundamentals of our nation. And I think Joe and many others could beat this guy. But age, I don't think that should be in the equation, in my opinion. But everyone will decide. They certainly have a big field of people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. I'm waiting for someone over 80 to get in there.
I don't know why you retired. Thank you so much, Senator Barbara Boxer, who never lost an election in her life, and I can see why every day. Thank you so much, Barbara Boxer.
I did my first one. I lost my first one.
Okay.
But
How many Senate races in a row? How many
ones.
Senate races in a row did you win? Yeah, I
4.
think so. Never lost the biggies. Anyway, thank you, Barbara Boxer, longtime senator from California. Eli Stokel, sir. Hey, Jamie, one last word. Can Biden get a big portion of the African-American vote in South Carolina, your state? Because I think he's counting on it. Your thoughts?
I think he can, but he's going to have to work for it, Chris, just like every one of these candidates. They have to build a ground operation. And my basic thing to all of these candidates is the best student of politics. If you look at the history of our presidential primary, particularly in South Carolina, the person who's the best at studying what has happened, what happened in 08, what happened in 16, that's the person that's going to win the South Carolina primary and eventually be the nominee for this party.
Well, I'm going to start studying it just to cover it. Thank you so much, Jamie Harrison, for coming on tonight. Great guest. Please come back again. And this programming note right now, Sunday night, I'm hosting a special edition. It's a documentary on MSNBC's Headliners, taking a look at, there he is, the man of the week, Joe Biden, and his whole life. We're going to do everything. Be sure to join us Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern right here on MSNBC.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.